Hey there, welcome to the first video on my brand spanking new channel talking about video games, and if you could guess, of course, the very first video talking about video games, it's gonna be about Banjo-Kazooie, because why wouldn't it be? Banjo-Kazooie, such an iconic game that so many people have already talked about, but I figured I'd give my 2 cents on it too. Now, my relationship with this iconic bear and bird is somewhat unique in that I wasn't even around when this series took off and was still relevant. I was born in the lovely year of 2002, so by the time I could even hold a controller, let alone process the thought to see Mario jump around, I was in the era of the Wii and the DS, just barely missing out on the GameCube and Game Boy Advance. But, come the lovely year of 2019, you got E3, which is still around, God bless E3, may that rest in peace. All the Super Smash Bros. Leakers were saying, guys, this is the year. Banjo is going to be in Smash, he's coming home, everyone's going to be so happy. And this led to a lot of social media posts being like, oh my god, Banjo-Kazooie, that game is so amazing, that was my childhood, I wish they'd do more with that series. And me, that got the gears in my brain turned a little bit to think, what the hell, people really like this game, what's up with that? So, I decided to make the lovely decision of selling my Wii U and 3DS XL at my local flea market for one Nintendo 64 and a Banjo-Kazooie cartridge. My god, guys, I can't believe it! The Wii U was worth something after all! I could trade it in for a much better console! Now, after getting home from the flea market and setting up my brand spanking new 20-plus year old system, I proceeded to play Banjo-Kazooie for roughly 4 to 5 hours without taking a break, and in that time, it clicked. This is one of the greatest games of all time! And that's not a hyperbole either. If you were to sit me down, gun to my head, and tell me, quick, name your top 10 games of all time, hell, I'd argue even top 5, Banjo-Kazooie would be there. I can't guarantee I know what place specifically, but it'd be there. Now, when actually booting up Banjo-Kazooie, after a somewhat drawn-out segment with the Rare logo, you are treated to one of the greatest gaming intros of all time. You got Banjo walking up doing the... And then, it's just fun, man. Watching Banjo-Kazooie, Mumbus Gumbus, and Tootie all jamming out on their instruments, having fun, it's just fun. That's all Banjo-Kazooie really is. It's fun, it's magical, it's whimsical, and the intro perfectly conveys this. I love this intro so much. Now, when talking the story, admittedly, Banjo isn't exactly anything special. It's literally just your basic hero guy needs to save the girl, but they switch it up this time. Instead of being a generic princess to rescue from a stupid-ass evil turtle, you're saving Tootie, Banjo's sister, from the evil witch Gruntilda. Again, it's not exactly anything groundbreaking, but you know, it's enough to get Banjo out of bed and ready to go for an adventure. And once you get outside the house, you are treated to one of the greatest starting areas in gaming. Spiral Mountain, man. The song is great, the area is colorful, it's fun to play around in. It's amazing how much energy they put into the first opening level that you're not even going to come back to realistically once you get far enough in the game. You then meet your boy Bottles, and this guy is a bit special in that he serves as the tutorial point for new moves, as well as having a great dynamic with Kazooie. Straight off the bat, you call her weird looking, and Kazooie fires back calling him Goggle Boy. These two basically hate each other, and it's honestly pretty funny. Something important to note, however, though, is that the tutorial for Banjo-Kazooie, the first 5 moves playing around Spiral Mountain, yeah, that's completely optional. You can basically tell Bottles, nah bro, I know what I'm doing, get the hell out of my way. And that is amazing to this day, because in the modern era of these groundbreaking AAA games, if they're so groundbreaking, why do they struggle to let go of your hand? Once you're done screwing around in the tutorial area, though, you can actually head into the main hub world of the game, Grunty's Lair, which is a giant sculpture of her head on the side of a cliff top, which, given Donkey Kong 64 released the next year, and that also had a giant sculpted head of a main character serving as a major point of interest, it's safe to say Rare was really into rock carving for some reason, but everyone needs hobbies, you know what I'm saying? So, once you make your way inside the lair, the first thing you're greeted to is Grunty immediately insulting you, but the joke is that it's exclusively in rhyme form. Almost everything this son of a witch says is rhyming in some shape or fashion, and I've seen some people say it's annoying, which I do think is the point, but I think it works really well, and it can even be really funny. It's constantly reminding you that, hey, Grunty is watching you at all times. She is a serious threat. You are aiming to take her down, but she always has her eye on you and knows everything you're doing. I think it does a good job at constantly reminding the player of what the goal is. You're meant to conquer Grunty's lair. You're meant to make your way to the top to save Tooty and take down Grunty. If you look to your left after entering the lair, you're going to notice a giant glowing puzzle piece sitting on some platforms. This is a Jiggy, aka the most important collectible in the game, and it also introduces one of the greatest things of this game, Banjo-Kazooie's little victory dance, which plays every single time they pick up a Jiggy, which, again, like Gruntilda's rhyming, may seem annoying to some, but come on, it's so stupid, it's so goofy, it's so fun, I love it. Look at him go. Now, I'd argue the Jiggies are some of the most impressive collectibles in a 3D platformer just because of how well the environment utilizes them. When you collect a Jiggy, your job is to find a special level portrait in Grunty's lair, and the Jiggies slide into the portrait, completing it, which is what allows you to open new levels. You are actively progressing in the game by collecting Jiggies, which isn't much different from something, say, like Mario 64, where, you collect a star, you get enough stars, you can open doors. But I'd argue Banjo-Kazooie handles it a lot better because when you slide a Jiggy into the level portrait, you're seeing your hard work pay off by it actively impacting the environment, opening new worlds, which is something I think Banjo-Kazooie does a lot better than most 3D platformers. Now, the first few levels of Banjo-Kazooie, I'd argue are all pretty good, with the headliner being Mumbo's Mountain serving as an excellent first level to get you used to how this game plays. Each level, you'll notice, has 10 Jiggies, one of which is tied to the 5, and I say this in very large quotation marks, hidden Jinjos, some Mumbo tokens littered across the ground, which when you collect, we'll get back to what those do in a second. Hey there, it's post-recording Mr. Mania here. I totally forgot to talk about Mumbo, so here we go. If you collect those Mumbo tokens I'm talking about before, so if you find those scattered around the levels and bring them to Mumbo in a handful of levels, he'll turn you into something that fits the level and can help you with some puzzles. In the first level, you turn into a tick. There's stupid stuff like a walrus, a crocodile. In the final level, you turn into a bumblebee. That one's actually pretty cool because you get full flight with no restrictions. So yeah, that's what Mumbo does. Bye-bye. And arguably the second most important collectible in this game, the 100 music notes. Each level has 100 music notes scattered across them, and this is another example of Banjo's ingenious design because the music notes are there to encourage exploration. If you do not have all 100 notes, you haven't explored every nook and cranny of this level, which I think is an excellent incentive in getting you to see everything a level has to offer. I will say, though, there is one drawback to these stupid-ass notes in that if you die or you decide to leave the level for whatever reason to go do something else, the note counter resets back to 0, and you have to collect them all again. That is super annoying and genuinely pretty stupid. For all the love I give this game, that sucks. That sucks so bad. There is one fix, but it involves succumbing to the dark side and buying an Xbox, which I will not do. After going off on a brief tangent, bitching about one of my favorite games of all time, we're going to go right back to praising it because Banjo-Kazooie has another ingenious system, the new moves. There are 9 total levels in Banjo, and the first 6 each have at least one new move taught to you by bottles. And I believe this is incredible because it makes you feel like you're constantly growing, you're constantly being rewarded for exploring, and you're always learning new stuff to help you in the later levels. For example, in Treasure Trove Cove, you get the super spring I don't know what the hell it's called. It's like a super jump or something. Kazooie basically breaks her legs, and she does a super jump, propelling you up. It's awesome. And more importantly, you unlock the red feather power-up, which is basically flight. Banjo is allowed to hold 50 of these because they don't want this to be too broken, and you basically have free reign once you jump off that pad. You can fly around, you can go up, you can go down. In Freeze Easy Peak, you learn a dive bomb attack, which is fun, but if you use it wrong, you basically smash into the ground, taking damage, which that's not so fun. But yeah, there's constant growth in Banjo-Kazooie with even new power-ups like the Super Speed Sneakers and the stupid-ass swamp boots that you get in Bubba Gloop Swamp, which, boy, we're going to get to you. Now feels like a good time to talk about the music in Banjo-Kazooie, which it has Grant Kirkhope working on it, so that should tell you all you need to know. This game's soundtrack is absolutely phenomenal, with tracks such as Spiral Mountain and Freeze Easy Peak being all peppy and upbeat, to more sinister music like Grunty's Lair and Mad Monster Mansion. But Banjo-Kazooie even goes above and beyond in that it has somewhat of a dynamic soundtrack in that depending on the environment, what you're doing, or certain other conditions, the music will completely change. For example, in Treasure Trove Cove, when you enter, you got your standard music playing. You go to the pirate ship area, and the music changes to sound more almost like a sea shanty, but when you take a dip in the water, the music gets all muffled. It changes instruments, it even gets a slower tempo to reflect the fact that you're swimming in the water. Rare didn't necessarily need to go above and beyond like this, but this just goes to show that they really cared about this project, and I think that's really something special. Now, no game is truly flawless and perfect, and sadly, Banjo-Kazooie does actually have a couple blemishes. One that a lot of people like to point at as a prime example is Rusty Bucket Bay. I personally have never really had that much of an issue with this level, and on top of that, it has a really great soundtrack to it, so leave it alone. You're just bad at this game. Though in all actuality, there are a few points which I genuinely agree with. For one, the engine room. This place sucks. I hate this stupid platforming challenge. It's too slippery, it moves around too fast, it's not fun, it's so easy to slip off into the bottomless pit and die, which to remind you, reset your note count because that's fun game design. It goes in the water, Banjo drowns so much faster in this stupid level. And what was it? Oh yeah, it's the Jiggy that can kill you even if you collect it. Yeah, for whatever reason, there's a mission involving the engine room, which is more fun platforming, where you turn off the boat propeller and the engine room stuff actually slows down and stops, which does make it somewhat easy to platform. You have to dive back into the water, swim over to the Jiggy, and collect it and get back out of the boat propeller before the timer ends, otherwise Banjo is mincemeat, which, need I remind you, resets your note counter. Basically, Rusty Bucket Bay is a super easy level to die in, which in this game is very punishing. I will say though, one level that I personally have somewhat issue with is Clanker's Cavern. I wouldn't call it a bad level design-wise, but I've always just never had that much fun playing in this one. It's a little boring to me. And one level I absolutely can't stand is Bubba Gloop Swamp. I mentioned it earlier, here we are. This level can burn. I don't like it, the enemies are annoying, the power-up sucks, it just slows down Kazooie, it's not fun to use, it's boring, and maybe the only saving grace is the gator transformation because that's super fun, but even then, you have to play that stupid minigame where you eat those red little creature thingies against that other red gator. That guy sucks. I hate him. But one of the main complaints with Banjo-Kazooie besides Rusty Bucket is the late game with a certain minigame hosted by Grunty. If you'll notice, this was my super duper epic awesome and totally smart planned way to talk about the late game. Let's go. Once you get past all 9 major levels, you're then able to tackle Grunty's Furnace of Fun, and this is where a significant headache comes in for most players. So, the Furnace of Fun is this strange board game-like puzzle in which you'll move across certain squares. Once you land on one, Grunty will ask you a question, and this can be, oh, what NPC makes this given sound? You'll see a screenshot from a level, and she'll ask you, what level is this from? And you know, these aren't too bad if you've been paying attention, but one such issue from Grunty's Furnace of Fun comes in the Grunty Spaces, in which you are asked a question about Grunty's personal life. Now, the main issue with these is that the only way to even get these answers is to locate Grunty's sister Brentilda hidden around locations in Grunty's lair. And on each playthrough, these answers are completely random. If you write them down for one playthrough and then go back and make it to the furnace again, the answers likely won't be the same. And there are some platforms in the Furnace of Fun that if you fail the answer, it's game over, and you have to start the whole thing over again, which, you know, more fun level design, guys. It's so much fun. What do you mean people don't like the Furnace of Fun? It has fun in the name. But if you actually manage to beat Grunty's little game, she runs up some stairs to the highest point of her lair, Banjo's reunited with Tooty, you get the fun and iconic rare fake credits. They did it in Donkey Kong Country, it was charming there, it's super fun and cute here, and then we're treated to a nice little cutscene of Banjo, Mumbo, Bottles, they're all just hanging out around Banjo's house, having a little barbecue, hanging out, to which Tooty runs up and reminds Banjo, hey, dipshit, you didn't beat the witch, get back up there and finish the job. So it's back off to the lair for the bear and bird. Once you arrive back in the lair, you make your way up that same staircase Grunty escaped up, and you'll notice You've made it to the end. This is the final room before you face Gruntilda. Looking around, you'll notice a few note doors, which is kind of odd because there are 900 notes total in this game, and I believe you only need roughly 860 to open all 3 doors. But behind these doors are double counts for your eggs and feathers, which is going to be super useful, believe me. And with the final few jiggies, you're able to double your health. The game is basically handing you a somewhat easy mode here because I'm assuming they intended this final boss to be super tough, which after hopping in her cauldron dingpot and being shot up into the sky to the top of the lair, you're going to find out. Now, before we talk about the actual fight, yes, the music, absolutely incredible. Are you even shocked at this point? I've talked about the music so much in this video. Banjo-Kazooie soundtrack is amazing. But back to the fight. So, the fight against Gruntilda. I would argue this is an insanely good final boss fight because it properly challenges you to use a majority of your moves that you've learned across the adventure. This feels super rewarding because it's not just, oh, use 1 or 2 moves. No, you have to use a majority of your moveset to take down the witch, and I think that is a very well-designed boss fight. In the final phase of this fight, Grunty basically gets sick of Banjo's little tricks and puts up a magic barrier saying, nah, you can't hit me, and is constantly sending out homing attacks, which are actually pretty difficult to dodge, so you gotta take advantage of those invincibility feathers. But for whatever reason, the Jinjos have been listening into this whole fight and decide to help Banjo out by summoning the Jinjonator, this giant, mythical, all-powerful beast that is apparently iconic enough to be Banjo's Smash Ultimate. Final Smash. And upon activating all 4 ports, the Jinjonator then comes to life, absolutely wrecks Grunty's shit, pushing her off the side of her lair, making her plummet down to Spiral Mountain again, leaving a big-ass Grunty-shaped crater a la Wile E. Coyote, and before she can get out, she gets crushed by a big boulder. Like her assistant Klungo, he's trying to move the boulder, she's struggling underneath, the boulder's barely moving, she dies. Grunty is dead. That's pretty morbid. After killing a witch, Banjo-Kazooie, the rest of the gang all go back to relaxing, this time on a beach, enjoying some nice ice-cold drinks on the coast. And Mumbo actually does something pretty neat. He hints at post-game content in the form of the super-duper iconic and legendary Stop and Swap eggs, which if you know anything about, you probably know more about the missed potential, if anything. So after inputting these obnoxiously, and I mean obnoxiously long codes, into the Sandcastle or Treasure Trove code, you're able to find 6 colored eggs and a giant ice key, which now do nothing. But if you know the lore of Stop and Swap, N64s were originally supposed to have 10 seconds of RAM in which you would take out Banjo-Kazooie, put in Banjo-Tooie, and you'd get special content if you had the ice key and the eggs. But later models of the 64 sadly only have 1 second of RAM, and Nintendo and Rare, I'm assuming, they looked at it and said, we probably shouldn't risk it. We don't want anyone damaging their hardware or their cartridges. Sadly, the feature was cut, but it's still cool they're here nonetheless. But yeah, that about does it for Banjo-Kazooie. This game is just phenomenal, man. You've heard me gush about it this whole video. I'm sure you know about it. It's a very famous game. So many people love it. There's a reason people are always begging Xbox to do something with Banjo and Conquer for that matter. People love these characters. They want to see them get treated with the love they deserve. And I think if we as a Banjo community come together and really voice our opinions, maybe, just maybe, Microsoft, Xbox, Rare, all of them, they'll realize, hey, we like making money. Let's give the people what they want. Wait, what's that? Oh, wait, Rare posts artwork of characters like Conquer and Banjo talking about how much they love their legacy, but proceed to not do anything with that legacy? Ah, well, never mind then. Good night, everybody! Hey there, it looks like you made it to the very end of the video. If, you actually bothered to stick around and watch me ramble on for almost 20 minutes about Banjo-Kazooie, then I'd just like to say thank you, because this was a super fun project to make, I will admit, this video is definitely going to suffer from the chronic case of first video in a channel's history-itis, because these edits, not the best. I've never used video editing software before, so if this looks like it was put together by a grade schooler, that might explain it. But yeah, thank you again. If you have any ideas for games I should cover in the future, by all means, leave a comment. I'll check them out, and if I have access to the game, I will definitely consider it. Thank you again.